Alright guys, Clank96 here. We're going to do a tier list for World of Warcraft PvP Battlegrounds in terms of what's fun to play. So for me, starting off with the Frost TK, I hardly see these. I've never gotten quite into it. I'm just going to flat out rate it as a C because I don't think it's D tier. Unholy, on the other hand, this spec fascinates me. I think when somebody sends a horde of undead and ghouls my way, it's a little intimidating. I think with that in mind, they deserve an A tier. Demon Hunter. I played the crap out of Demon Hunter in Shadowlands. I really enjoyed it. You're jumping all over the place. Built-in slow fall. I mean, the aesthetic, the theme, it's all really cool. And the abilities, the colors, it's all just so cool to me. And what they're capable of, I think they're not super strong. I mean, kind of niche, I guess, but I think they deserve a solid A in terms of fun for what they're capable of. Balanced Druid. I see these sprinkled into the battlegrounds pretty well. Like, not too often, but not like as scarce as, say, like a Frost DK or some of these other specs. And I think, like, thematic-wise, it's got like some of the coolest visuals in the game, like Starfalls. It's always been one of my favorite spells in the game. Throwing up dots, you can heal pretty well, maintain your distance. I think it deserves an A. It's fun, it looks cool, it's a pretty awesome spec. Feral. I think this spec, much like any other druid spec, you got the heals. You can pop in bear form. Forgot to mention that about balance. For the extra health in certain situations. The mobility is great. The damage is great. You get to run that around as a kitty cat. I mean, come on, that's pretty awesome. A for awesome, right? Evoker. I played this a little bit when it first came out with the hype. I think it's honestly pretty cool. The abilities are really cool. It's very different. It definitely broke up the monotony of, all the other classes we've had for a while. I'd give it a solid A for that reason. Beastmaster, I think in terms of like the hunters, I think Beastmaster falls behind marksmanship in PvP due to the fact that marksman just has a better toolkit in my opinion. Roar of Sack, survivability, and like the intimidating pets coming at you, similar to the Unholy Death Knight. It's really cool. But Beastmaster has fallen off my charts in terms of fun a little bit, not too much, but I'd say B tier, B for Beastmaster. Survival Hunter. You would think a class like that's named survival would have great survival, but I feel like the marksman hunter just kind of outshines it. The toolkit just allows you to do some things that I don't think the other hunter specs can, unfortunately. And I also don't see this a lot as well. And I just don't think it's that fun. But like slinging around with the chain like Spider-Man, that is pretty cool. So I'll definitely give it a solid C tier in terms of fun. Marksman is hands down my personal favorite. Bit of bias here. If you've seen my channel, I do marksman videos primarily. I love marksmen. They are capable of so much. And just knocking people off the map is one of my favorite things to do. So I have to give this an S tier. And all bias aside, they're totally a fun Battlegrounds PvP spec. Mage. Arcane Mage. I think like thematically Arcane is really cool. The spells are cool. Arcane Explosion, it's always been a cool spell. Arcane Missiles, super cool. Get your haste up, spamming missiles, that's really cool. But just the cast times and the setup, we all know how that goes. So I think a fair C tier. Fire Mage. I honestly think it's right there in terms of like the build up, you know, if you get interrupted or stunned and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you are a mage, you have a pretty good toolkit, but I just think Fire belongs in C tier with Arcane. Frost, however, I really like Frost. I'm currently leveling a Frost Hunter to play on the side of my Marksman Hunter because I've seen a lot of cool Frost gameplay and I want to participate. Just the toolkit is incredible. The slows, you're just like against melee, it's pretty darn hard to lose against a melee, provided you have, you know, the gear and you don't slip up, etc. So I think I'm gonna put that up with S tier. A little bit of bias, but I think Frost is super cool and fun. Windwalker. I have personally never made a monk, and I don't plan to. I really just don't care for the theme. I don't know why. I can't really put my finger on it. I just actually take that back. In Diablo, the monk is like so much different. So different, like cut from a completely different cloth. And it just kind of like, I've always thought the monk should be more like that monk, or even like the Scarlet Monastery monks, similar to what they're doing in like the Classic Plus private server type of scene. So I'm gonna give it a solid C tier. I'm gonna save Retribution for last. Let's go to Shadow Priest, because Retribution is a hot topic. Shadow Priest. I've always thought this was really cool. It's kind of, well, I used to think it was like a wannabe Affliction Warlock, but it kind of grew on me, and I've seen what they can do. They're really powerful casters at range. I think a lot of people would agree that for the range casters, like the Warlocks and the Shadow Priests are very lethal, hard to deal with. If the player knows what they're doing, they can be very troublesome. So I think they deserve a solid A tier. Assassination. Now, with the assassination meta for quite some time now, personally I don't play Rogue, but I've always kind of liked the Rogue fantasy, wanted to get into it, but just kind of had my hands tied with other stuff. And If I were to play a rogue spec, it would be assassination, regardless of what the meta was. What was good in PvE or PvP, I would rock assassination no matter what, just because I've always liked assassination best. So personally, I would give it a solid A tier. Outlaw. Outlaw really never tickled my fancy. I do think parts of it are cool. I think what turned me off was like the RNG and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give it a solid C tier because I don't think, honestly, a little bit of spoiler, I don't think anything's quite worth D tier. Subtlety. I haven't heard anything or seen subtlety rogues at all really since assassination became the meta. I think, if I'm not mistaken, subtlety rogues were like super meta, I think, in Shadowlands for a while, if not like the whole time. They're pretty cool though, like in terms of the theme and what they're capable of. I definitely think they're cooler than outlaw rogues, but I just don't see them like because of the meta and everything. But in terms of coolness, I'm gonna give it a B tier. I have to place it above outlaw, and yeah. So elemental shaman. I think lightning is awesome and cool. And I think shaman is capable of a lot, like the heals, the totems, the knockback, similar to the frost mage and the marksman hunter. Just the lightning man, the lightning, and it's also very powerful too. Meta aside, I think it's great. I think I'm gonna give it a solid A tier. Enhancement. Don't really see these too much, but they are really cool. I've always liked the shaman theme, and the fact that there's a caster and a melee. Two opposite ends of the pole there. But just in terms of like coolness, from what I've experienced, they definitely fall under elemental, and I think they deserve a B tier. Warlocks. Affliction Warlock. Affliction Warlock has always been pretty awesome in PvP to me. In PvE, I was never a fan of like spreading dots. Seed of Corruption obviously made things better, and that kind of stuff, but in PvP they just really shine, like throwing dots and then fearing somebody, and they just like run away in fear with all these dots on them, and it can be very annoying to deal with when you're on the receiving end of this, but when you're the one doing it, it can be a lot of fun and almost trolly. So I think that is going to be I'll go with A tier. Demonology. Much like Beast Mastery and Unholy, the absolute army of minions that you send at somebody, again, can be very intimidating when you see that army coming after you with like especially a bunch of their teammates and stuff. It's like, oh crap, gotta run. Awesome, super awesome. And with the changes, pit lore and everything, all the demons, very, very, very cool. Solid A tier, in my opinion. Destro. Destro has honestly been my favorite warlock spec since the dawn of time. As cool as these other ones are, like, just, pulling up that Chaos Bolt and just launching it, and it's just, those Chaos Bolts were powerful, man. Despite what's going on with Destro, you know, I don't think it's too great right now. I've heard some complaints and stuff like that, you know. Maybe if I had like the maxed out gear, maybe I'd think otherwise. You know, maybe it's performing differently on the very high end sort of thing, but it is a caster. It can be countered by interrupts and stuns, and this is a big team thing, so there's a lot of that going on. But it definitely deserves A tier, and I'm going to throw it in front of the other ones just because it kind of holds a special place in my heart as far as fun with those Chaos Bolts. Arms, I see, yeah, you see it every game, every single game, probably multiple Arms Warriors. It's just so good. It's definitely the better DPS warrior spec, hands down. Arguably always has been for PvP. And it rightfully deserves that A tier. It's good. Good's fun. Fury also very fun. Not quite as like performance wise as Arms Warrior, but like super fun. A tier. Retribution, the talk of the town, the trendy Retribution Paladin. Nerfs, buffs, nerfs. What's gonna happen in 10.07? People say it was pretty broken. Day or two goes by, you see that it's been nerfed into the ground, blah blah blah. For me, it's always so up and so down, so up and so down. And don't get me wrong, I love Ret Paladin. It's awesome, you know, Holy Light, Consecration, the visuals, it's awesome. But it's always been so up and down. They can't figure it out. So in terms of fun, just because it's so up and down, I think, you know, that common saying like middle of the pack. And that's that. I'm not going to do tanks and healers. Those are a class of their own. I think I'm going to put together a tier list for that itself. You don't see a whole lot of tanks in Battlegrounds. Some definitely call for them. When they are seen, it's a lot of Prot Warriors and Protection Paladins. But I think I will rate these in a future video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about what I think. I'd love to hear it. This is a pretty popular thing, tier lists here. I think it's cool to talk about it, see what other people think. Yeah, again, thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.